watching the station covering all of the DMV. This is DC News Now.
Hi, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us for DC News Now at 10 on DCW 50. I'm Susan Tran.
And I'm Tosin Fakile in for Chris Flanagan tonight. New tonight, DC police announcing an arrest in 5 rape cold cases. The crimes span over a 4-year period between 2008 and 2012.
The suspect, known also as the Georgetown Cuddler, is accused of several rapes and home break-ins in Georgetown as well as Glover Park. Investigators say the suspect targeted these women who were asleep and intoxicated at these off-campus homes. Now, DC News Now's Marielle Carbone is joining us live in Georgetown.
Marielle, a terrifying crime for that neighborhood. How were police finally able to crack this case?
Well, Tosin, police tell us that DNA evidence linked the suspect to the crimes in these cases. Now, tonight, a 54-year-old Ernesto Mercado is behind bars, and his alleged crimes, they quite frankly terrorized students here at Georgetown as well as the University of Maryland for years.
It's always in the back of my head, the fear of what could happen walking alone, especially as a woman.
But what's scarier for Georgetown sophomore Anya Lando is what, or rather who, she didn't know was even out there.
Someone that was assaulting women like in 2008 was still around. What more am I missing that I don't know that I should be scared of?
Wednesday, police announced the arrest of this man, 54-year-old Ernesto Mercado. He's accused of stalking and raping college and post-grad women in off-campus housing between 2008 and 2012. His crimes deeming him the nickname the Georgetown and College Park Cuddler.
This man is a predator, and his intent was not to cuddle these women, but instead his intent was to rape them.
Cold case detective Alexander McBean has been investigating the cases for years. He says forensic genetic genealogy and DNA evidence linked Mercado to 6 cold case home invasion sexual assaults, 5 in the Georgetown Glover Park area, and 1 in College Park just off the UMD campus.
In the cases he is charged with today, Mercado allegedly broke into the victims' homes and raped them while they were sleeping.
And there could be more. According to court documents, Mercado is suspected of committing dozens of additional peeping Tom, voyeurism, burglary, and home invasion sexual assault offenses, which is why we're showing his face. This photo, a driver's license photo from 2010, was taken around the time of the alleged crimes. So you saw that photo there. Police are asking that if you recognize him, if maybe you believe you were a victim during this time period, to call police and share that information. Tosin and Susan, he is facing 8 felony counts specific to the 5 cases here in D.C. And if he's convicted on 2 separate charges there, he could face life in prison. Reporting live in Georgetown tonight, I'm Marielle Carbone, DC News Now.
Some really alarming details there, Marielle. Thank you. Over in Maryland, state police will have to pay $2.75 million to settle a discrimination lawsuit that was filed by Black and women applicants. The Justice Department says state police used a written test that disadvantaged African Americans and a physical fitness test that was prejudicial against women. State police officials say that the discrimination was, quote, unintentional. Part of the settlement as well, state police must also hire up to 25 applicants who were unfairly disqualified, but those candidates would also have to successfully complete the new trooper screening process.
At DC News Now is your local election headquarters. Virginia Senator Tim Kaine and his Republican opponent, Hunk Hao, just wrapped up that first Virginia Senate debate.
So Kaine, of course, the longtime Democrat, has held that seat for more than a decade, was also the vice presidential nominee. And Hao, a Navy veteran, is backed by former President Trump. DC News Now's Max Marcilla joining us live in the studio tonight.
And Max, so many issues were tackled in tonight's debate, but both candidates took vastly different approaches to addressing how they tackle these issues.
Yeah, Tosin and Susan, they did. This was a debate centered around the issues that are really important to Virginians, from affordability to safety and the ongoing crisis in the Middle East. And each candidate painted their vision for the future of the Commonwealth and the country.
You're better off today than you were 4 years ago.
Nobody's better off than 4 years ago. 4 years ago, we were in the middle of COVID.
Republican Hung Cow criticizing the last 4 years under the Biden-Harris administration. Senator Tim Kaine touting his record. The opponents answering questions about the economy, inflation, and price gouging. Cow saying energy independence is his top priority to better the economy.
If it costs more for a farmer to farm their land, it's going to cost also more for a trucker to bring it there. And what they've done is they've made us dependent on oil from countries that hate us.
And Kaine criticizing former President Trump's proposed tariffs.
The Trump tariffs would be a massive tax that would cause prices on all these items that are imported to go up.
Then the two going back and forth on how they'd address housing affordability.
There is a very strong federal program called the Low-Income Housing Tax Credit. Sometimes the right thing to do is create a new program, but when you have one that works, just do more of it.
We can build affordable housing further south and have more VREs and mass transit to bring people up there to work.
And on the war in the Middle East, they were asked if they would support the U.S. going on the offensive following Iranian attacks.
Any attack on U.S. personnel, you would need to consider a significant response to punish those who did it. But other than that, the U.S. should not let anyone drag us into a war in the Middle East.
As a warrior, I'm the last person that wants to get back into war. The difference is that we have to stand by Israel.
Now, the candidates also talked about the ongoing dock workers strike, military recruitment, reparations, and abortion. And if you want a full look at all of those topics and the rest of the topics discussed tonight, you can head over to DCNewsNow.com, go to the News tab, and click on the Virginia Senate debate page. Live in the studio, Max Marcella, DC News Now.
Max, thank you. Breaking tonight, former President Donald Trump speaking with News Nation just a short time ago in an exclusive one-on-one interview. Trump responding to a new case against him on charges of plotting to overturn the 2020 election. In a redacted brief released by the judge in this case, one of Trump's lawyers gave him an honest assessment about his false claim the election had been stolen. The brief quotes Trump saying, quote, "The details don't matter." Trump spoke to News Nation about that.
He's a deranged person. I call him deranged Jack Smith. This was a weaponization of government, and that's why it was released 30 days before the election. And it's nothing new in there, by the way, nothing new.
The court filing included a sealed appendix of the inquiry, including FBI interviews and grand jury testimony, which could soon be open to the public.
All right, let's get a check on our Wednesday night forecast. It has been gloomy. I'm ignoring Saturday. Yes, it was a blip, but the gray skies are lasting for days.
Doesn't count.
I'll tell you about Saturday. Like, I was anchoring that morning. There was like no sun, and I crossed right into Virginia because I was about to catch a flight. It was sunny.
That's right. The DMV for you, right? Different weather patterns in location. It definitely matters, right? And so we're going to see some changes tomorrow in locations. First, it's our western communities that get that good old sunshine back, and then DC is staying under overcast skies. That's what we're seeing right now. 68, minimal breeze out across the region, but all the rain, it has dissipated well to our south, and so high pressure is trying to take over. A lot of flood warnings and advisories still in place, and look at dense fog advisories going into place. That's that kind of gray color. Nothing for DC metro area just yet, but I am expecting fog development overnight. All this green that you're seeing, that's just ground clutter. It's not precip by any means, but the fog is starting to move in from Woodstock into Luray as well. Temperatures as a whole really is quite cool across the entire region. We do have a lot of upper 40s for overnight lows. Good looking weather pattern for Thursday, Friday, going into the start of your weekend. I have your full forecast. It's coming up.
Janessa, the weekend has never been more exciting. All right, thank you. Well, tonight, the massive port worker strike continues at dozens of ports across the U.S. We're talking down in Norfolk all the way up to Baltimore, and they're asking for wage increases and a restriction on automation. State and federal lawmakers are pushing for an end to the strike, saying its long-term impact could cost the economy billions of dollars. And in the DMV alone, census data shows ports in Virginia and Baltimore are in the country's top 10 in cargo, with tons of cars, furniture, coffee, and sugar. Now, this strike will not cause a toilet paper shortage, but that hasn't stopped shoppers from panic buying. DC News Now's Tim Reed checked in with families in Prince George's County to hear how they're feeling.
All day long, shoppers here at the Woodmore Town Center in Lanham have been loading up on groceries here at Costco and at Wegmans next door. I spoke to several shoppers who tell us the shelves are almost empty.
Time we got up here, The shelves are empty. I got a couple cases of water. I got a thing of paper towels there. That's all I was able to get.
Garnell Daniels, like dozens of other shoppers at Costco this afternoon, decided to come and stock up on as many necessity items as possible. Things like water, toiletries, and bread because of the worker strike.
And I think they need to put a limit on exactly how many people, how many waters they're getting, how many toilet papers, rolls of toilet papers they're getting. Because and then all of a sudden I don't think it'll be that much of a problem. But people make it their problem because everybody rush out, start loading up.
All afternoon, more and more shoppers loaded up grocery carts with as much as they could, including Kawanda Hairston. She says everyone seems to be in panic mode.
This just shows that how it trickles down to all of us, and it's an effect to all of us. Costco is pretty much out of a lot of our necessities. So everybody's in here just trying to gear up and stock up for the worst.
It's important to point out that while the strike is expected to have significant effects on the global supply chain, experts say things like toilet paper and paper towels are mostly produced in the U.S., so supplies of those shouldn't be impacted as much as imported products such as electronics and cars and machinery parts.
And now people are raiding the stores with the toilet paper, the water.
So they are running dry, and everybody is definitely in a panic mode because we just don't know what's going to happen next.
Shoppers we talked to tell us they are hoping this strike won't last too long so things can get back to normal. In Lanham, Maryland tonight, Tim Reed, DC News Now.
In Northern Virginia, animal shelters are helping the pets left without a home from Helene. Just take a look. Here are some of the 10 cats at the Animal Welfare League in Arlington. Now, they took them in, and they're now looking for families to adopt or foster these animals. We're talking about roughly 100 pets that arrived in Fairfax County at the Homeward Trails. That shelter has long helped rehome animals following natural disasters.
Working hard, but we know, again, it's a small piece of the puzzle. We know there's so many other wonderful organizations that are working amazingly hard to help people and animals down in North Carolina.
If you're interested in adopting or fostering from the Animal Welfare League, you can start by filling out a form online.